Every book will tell you this is the moon at its strongest. It rules this sign. It is at home here. And a great many people with this placement will tell you, quietly, that they feel homesick in their own house. Both of those are true. Start with what rulership actually means. In every other sign, the moon is working in a borrowed language. Here, it is speaking its own. Nothing is translated, softened, or held at a distance. Whatever this placement feels, it feels at full volume and without a filter. Before the sign, the instrument itself. The moon governs recovery, how long a shock keeps its grip, and what a place has to offer before your shoulders come down. It is the least glamorous part of a chart and the part running most of the day. In Cancer, the condition is continuity, not comfort, which is easier to arrange, and not safety, which is a different thing altogether. Continuity, being known by the same people across enough time that you no longer have to introduce yourself to be understood. And there is a chest that came with you. Every placement inherits something, but this one inherits furniture, ways of caring, of going quiet, of holding on, packed by people you may never have met and handed over before you could refuse it. So, the placement most at home is also the one most often homesick. That is not a paradox, and it is not damage. It has a specific cause, it is not the past, and it is waiting in the third chapter. Cancer is cardinal water. Water responds, cardinal begins. Put together, they make something people rarely expect from this sign. It moves first. It does not wait to be asked how you are. It arrives with the soup already made. What it does, hour by hour, is keep. Not hoard, keep. It holds the conditions of things. Who was there, what the light was like, which chair you took, whether the house was easy that year. It is an archive of atmosphere. This is why arguments land strangely. Years later, you will not have the sentence anyone used. You will have the temperature of the kitchen while it was said, and you will be entirely certain about it, which other people find unreasonable. And it is not sentimental about this. The archive is working equipment. It is how the placement knows within about 4 seconds of walking in whether a house is steady and whether the person in it has been crying recently. The chest matters here. Some of what this placement keeps was never its own experience. Protocols arrive intact through a family. How much is said at a table? What is done with bad news? Who is allowed to need things? You run them before you examine them. Cardinal water is the part that does something about it. It feeds people. It notices the one person at the edge of the group and goes over. This is an opening move, not a reaction, and it is genuinely rare. Here is the cause. The homesickness is not for a place, and usually not for childhood either. It is for a way of being looked after that this placement has spent its whole life providing, and has almost never been on the receiving end of. You are always the host. You make the house, you read the weather in it, you carry whatever is heaviest, and you do it well. Nobody thinks to do it back, because you have never once looked like someone who needed it done. So it withdraws. Not dramatically. This placement rarely slams anything. It simply goes one room further in, answers in shorter sentences, and says it is fine. The word fine here is a door closing quietly enough that nobody hears it. And it will not ask directly. It asks by giving more care, more attention, an extra thing done unprompted. And then it waits to be correctly guessed. When the guest does not come, the giving increases. This can run for years. Meanwhile, the chest fills. Nothing is thrown out here. Not the birthday that was forgotten, not the tone somebody used in a car 11 years ago. None of it is being held against anyone. It is simply all still in there, in order. The way out is not to keep less. It is to say the sentence, "This is what I need from you now." Said plainly, it takes about 6 seconds. Not saying it has cost some people a decade. In closeness, this placement builds an interior fast. Within weeks, there is a shared vocabulary, a shorthand, a set of things only the two of you find funny. It makes a house out of a relationship, which is lovely and also the whole risk. In conflict, it does not advance. It retreats, and it takes the house with it. The other person is suddenly outside something they did not know they were inside, being answered politely by someone who has gone a long way away. Repair has a shape here, and it is worth knowing. This placement will not come back out on its own. The pride is genuine, and the fear underneath it is older than the argument. It needs somebody to come and get it, once, warmly. Compare the moon in Capricorn, the other end of this axis. Same need, opposite method. It will not become after. It will not admit it wants to be, and it manages the whole thing alone on principle. Both are avoiding the same sentence. What this one actually needs from a partner is dull to say and hard to do. Show up at the same time, in the same way, for a long time. Reliability reads as love here. Intensity does not, and is often mistrusted. And it needs to be allowed to be looked after occasionally, without a crisis as the entry fee. If care can only be received when something has gone badly wrong, some part of the system will keep arranging for things to go badly wrong. At work, this placement is not the strategy. It is the thing that makes a team survivable. It remembers who has a parent in hospital, notices who has gone quiet in meetings, and holds the group together in ways that never appear in a review. Authority is where it comes undone, and not for the usual reason. It is not rebellious, it is porous. It reads the mood of whoever is above it and takes that reading personally, whether or not the mood had anything to do with it. So a cult manager costs this placement more than a hot job ever will. Under someone warm, it will work itself into the ground gladly. Under someone indifferent, it slowly stops being able to do work it could do easily somewhere else. And there is one thing it refuses outright: pretending not to care in order to look professional. Asked to be neutral about people, it will comply on the surface and quietly begin leaving. That exit starts months before anyone is told. The cost is that the working day does not close. The archive stays open on the way home, at the table, at 2 in the morning. Colleagues become people it is responsible for, which is generous and not, strictly speaking, the arrangement. The mature version keeps the noticing and drops the responsibility for outcomes it was never holding. It still sees who is struggling. It stops believing that seeing it makes fixing it its job. That single distinction gives a career back. So, the work. The first piece is the sentence from the 3rd chapter, said out loud to a specific person before the giving starts. Not a speech. 6 seconds. It will feel disproportionate to say, and it is the whole hinge. The second is opening the chest and going through it properly. Some of what is in there was packed by somebody else. A grandmother's rule about what is not discussed. A household habit of managing everything silently. You are allowed to keep some and set down the rest. And then the return, which is the quiet part. Home stops being a place behind you that you are trying to get back to. It becomes something you are currently making, in a house that exists, with people who are actually in it. Settled. This placement is the one people come to on the worst day of their year, and it is equal to it. Not because it is stronger, but because it has been keeping the conditions of a safe room since it was a child. That is a real skill. One last thing about the moon. It does not only raise tides in the ocean, The solid rock of the earth rises and falls under it too, twice a day by about a foot, silently, and nothing standing on the surface ever notices. What it moves is not only the soft parts. And in Cancer, there is a faint smudge the old astronomers could not resolve. Point a lens at it, and it opens into 1,000 separate stars. That is the placement exactly. What looks like one soft blur is a great many things, kept carefully, in order.